No. Okay, we should be good live again. Can you guys see this? Did it go down completely on YouTube? That's going to be so sad. Lame. Okay, new link is going to be shared here shortly. Yeah, yeah. Dropping it into Discord right now. Sorry, guys. Gonna have to go drop this in announcements. See, it's not my camera. My camera is good. Okay. There we go. So hopefully we can get those like put together or something at some point in time in the future. We're fully. Are we fully up now, Paul? I'm not seeing myself on. Okay, I'm not seeing myself on our stream. Oh, there we go. Now I see myself. Great. Okay, guys. So we're gonna go to this interview with Faz, and then I'll be back, and we'll do some AMA questions. So thanks for sticking with us for the technical errors, and we'll catch you guys soon. Hey guys, today we are here with a special guest, possibly one of the specialists of guests. Specialists. That's a whole different word. It means a different thing. Anyway, welcome Faz to Ahead of the Game. How you doing today, man?
Thank you. Keep him busy.
Keep him busy. Keep him busy. I see you got your logo on the wall there behind you. Very nice with the. Oh, there you go. You got it. You got it. Somewhere over there. We'll sort it out. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, what I've let people know, I do a podcast called Faz Radio, but generally I'm a computer nerd. I do computer programming consulting, and I'm into crypto.
Are you?
And I'm a dad. I have 2 kids, and I'm constantly busy. A lot more these days than I was a while back.
It tends to escalate, doesn't it? It gets weird. Yeah, I'm not necessarily looking forward to that. So you've been a member of the Gala community for a long time. Like, if I remember correctly, were you one of the ones that was even in the Discord when I first showed up?
I got into the Discord in August of 2020.
Okay, so no, you showed up a little bit after I did then, but you've been in the Gala community for a very, very long time. How did you first hear about Gala?
So I was just on Twitter, and I was subscribed to BitTrue, and I saw BitTrue had a tweet saying that the Gala token was going to come to BitTrue, and I was like, "What's that? Oh, is that a new token? Oh, let's see what that is." And then, of course, Google it. A few Googles later, then I was able to find your Discord and website and games and stuff like that. And I found it was pretty interesting. That was in August. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been August because it was in September of 2020 that the transition from the ERC 1155 happened to the old Gala V1 ERC 20, and then it was timed with a launch on BitTrue. So yeah, that timing lines up perfectly. So
it's one of my first tweets with my account, because I just decided to have a crypto account, and I had retweeted the BitTrue announcement, and I was like, "Oh, this looks like an interesting token."
Well, and there you go.
So that dates it. That tweet's still there if you go to the very beginning of my account.
Well, I'm glad that you are here hanging out. That I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and I appreciate all of the you have a very interesting spot in the community. Okay, I'll be very candid here, because on one hand, you're a contributing member of the community yourself. You and I, we've talked for a long time. I've been on Faz Radio a few times talking to you and Titan about things. You guys have your own Discord, which is tends a little bit on the salty side from time to time. But you know, you've always been a very fair moderator, if you will, and I appreciate that. Or at the very least, not awful, which, you know, I'm trying to say a nice thing. You're not actively trying to cause problems. You know, so that's kind of an interesting thing. But you have been in the Discord forever, and you've seen ups and downs, and you've seen us do all sorts of things. And I know that in the past, creeping up on almost 3 years now, right? You have seen stuff that you've liked. You've seen stuff that you haven't liked. You've seen, you know, all sorts of things. You've seen us grow from a little itty bitty team. I think that we were like 14 or 15 people at that point in time. Not even that many. Very, very small. Very, very few people at that point in time to what we are today. And you've seen us go from having, you know, one game, Townstar, to many games, many of which are playable, and lots more going on, and, you know, a huge amount of growth. So what are some things that you feel that we could do better? What are some criticisms that you have?
Okay, let me give some backstory first. When I first got onto the Discord, I could see that obviously some things were a bit raw and new, and, you know, new company kind of thing. And I could see that you were finding your way and coming up with some things. There wasn't always a lot of good answers to the questions that I had, but there were definitely people working to solve things and understand what's going on. What are some? Sorry, now that I did that, what was your question again?
What are some criticisms that you have?
Okay.
What can we do better?
Criticisms.
Hopefully helpful criticisms, not
yes.
just like, you guys suck, but like, here's the thing that you should try.
So one criticism that I've had that I've been very, very consistent on, and this is from the very, very beginning. If you go pretty far back, hopefully you'll see me talking about stuff like this, is messaging and communication. And of course, that's going to be a problem with any company going through growing pains. It's a problem with any company. My biggest criticism really has to do with messaging and communication. It always seems that those that are on the Discord, those that play the games, those that hold the coins and have lots of introspective questions, always seem to complain about communication. Well, it's what the root is. How come we didn't know about this? Why did you change your mind about this? Wait, what the hell? You said this and now you say that. Right. So I think that's very important, and I've tried many different ways to do it. Now, Titan, my co-host on Faz Radio, he makes those points in a different way than I do. But
yes,
he still makes that still is a point, is communication. Different communication could solve some, what I feel is a lot of the problems that I've seen.
Okay. In terms of, and this is actually one of the reasons that we have ahead of the game, right? Is to, you know, kind of get ahead of these things, to signal and pre-communicate some of what's going on. And if you go back and look at the last episodes, you typically see that we'll introduce a topic, and then, you know, a little bit later we'll go into the topic in more depth. So it's not like it's a thing that you're only hearing about for the first time. You know, when we talked about the coins, the potential for new tokens for in-game economies and things like that, that was something that we had talked about on Ahead of the Game several weeks prior, before, you know, there was any sort of big, you know, announcements or discussions or, you know, publications about it. So we're trying to do that. Do you feel that this is a move in the right direction, or do you feel that there's some other type of communication that is needed that is currently missing?
Yeah, I do think it's a move in the right direction. However, there's an additional problem,
Okay.
especially where you're a publisher of many different games and you have and whatever communication you have a lot of it. I've noticed that people have short memories. You say
Yes.
something, you'll telegraph something for weeks and weeks and months and even years, and people aren't keeping up. And what I could see being a beneficial thing is if there was some sort of when people do make complaints, you show the complaint and then you show this is what we said about it in 2020, this is what we said about 2021, 2022, and here's what we're doing now. We did tweak some things along the way, but here's where we kept you up to speed. I think that would go a long way. It's people have a very hard time digesting the amount of information that's put out there.
Dude, I have a hard time digesting the amount of information that's put out here. I have a hard time picking from the things that I could potentially talk about to talk about this, because again, there is a limitation to how much time I can sit here doing this in any given day, right? So I understand the bandwidth
And the attention
issues.
span of the,
Oh,
the
I had an interesting conversation in Discord just yesterday that was about this, and it was regarding questions around, somebody asked a question about, when is Gala Chain going to be live? And there was, I don't know if you saw that in Gala Gold, it was a back and forth for like an hour and a half. But essentially it's like, okay, well, Gala Chain's live. Well, okay, but that's not actually what I meant to ask. What I meant is this very different question, with a lot more nuance in it. But you can't, every time somebody asks a question, you can't necessarily give all of the nuance and all of the history and all of, everything that you might possibly want to know about a topic. Because again, there's a bandwidth issue in terms of both transmission and absorption.
yeah,
Which I think is,
especially if they interpret it the wrong way and they go off on a bender, some strange direction, and then you can't get them off of that.
I sometimes I see some of those may not be organic, if you catch my drift. But yeah. So okay, so point taken on all of that. It's something that we're working on, and we're going to continue to work on it. One of the things that I think would be kind of cool is if there was a place where the community could contribute to this. So how would you feel about if we were to stand up a community sourced wiki that people could contribute to? Would something like that be
Most
beneficial, do you
definitely.
think?
That would be awesome. Now, when you say community sourced, who's the editor?
Well, I mean, anyone would, like any sort of wiki that you stand up, anyone would be able to go in there and propose changes and make changes and put in citations and things like that. And so everybody would be the editor. I think that we would probably have to have
Well,
somebody.
there's a curator. There'd need to be a curator there that would.
Correct.
I mean, I could just start putting in all sorts of falsehoods or wrong
Precisely.
interpretations.
So there would have to be a curator. I would like there to be, and this is literally on the fly right now having this conversation. This is not a thing that we've discussed previously, and it's certainly not a thing that I've discussed with anyone else here at the company. I would love to put together some sort of curatorial board or something like that of the community. Okay, yeah,
I'd love to.
You can do that. And then that way, we have a bunch of people who we know are not going to allow, blatant falsehoods to slip into it. I think that there's a lot of people that would contribute to that, and then a lot of other.
And it's as simple as you can say whatever the heck you want. Where's your citation? Where's your link? Even if it's something that you need to copy and paste, give us something to work with.
Right. Okay, cool.
So I that's actually been a focus of my Discord, which has not taken off. If you notice, I don't have moderators; I have curators, but I have darn few of them because very few people volunteer to be a curator.
Right.
A lot of people just don't want to know the truth, and
yes, that is definitely true. It's also it's a little bit different if it's a running flow of communication, right? So if you have people that are talking in Discord and then you have somebody curate a comment out of existence, people tend to get very, very spicy about that. Whereas if you have a Wikipedia article and somebody writes some terrible, ridiculous thing, that's a little bit for some reason, I think more accepted by most people that, yeah, this needs to be edited. So, okay. Well, I will see what I can do about getting something like that stood up so that people can, contribute to it, and we can, build this out together,
That would
because
be awesome.
it's so far beyond my ability to hold it all in my head to share it. And it is bigger than any one of us. And this is something that we're all building together anyway. So I think that would be beneficial. And so I will work on getting that set up over the next few weeks.
I can see what coming out of this, people becoming, experts, as it were, on these Gala facts, which even you wouldn't be up to speed on, because you have more things to do.
I hear about things all the time from the community that I did not know about, especially if it's something coming out of music or film. People are like, "Oh, this thing just happened." I'm like, "Oh, really? That's cool. I didn't know that."
The only comment, like I said, that the only comment that I have about it, which is about curation, is people need to be able to accept or be able to see how all the stuff sourced in this wiki is factual. Because if they start seeing what they feel of opinion or company, or I'll just say Gala Games approved content, then it becomes
believe me, I totally understand. And I'm fine with people, highlighting things, provided it's legitimate. It's not I think that the normal rules of discourse, I think, should apply. We shouldn't be, filling pages of ad hominem attacks and things like that.
That's nothing like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff's what Discord is for.
Right.
And Twitter.
So now, accepting all of that, what's something that you feel that we do well?
So I really like the focus on multiple individual games. I like the focus on building communities for these games. I like seeing the different types of games, the different areas. You have a card game, you have a first-person shooter, you have music, you have an adventure game, and MMO. I like seeing the diversity, and I think that's necessary if you're going to be a gaming company, because not everything's going to take off. It might just be one or two things that you might have a sweet spot that maybe Steam doesn't address. Well, the Web3 part, but still, I mean, there's. So that's what I think. I think the variety of what you guys provide is the strongest thing you have.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate that. That's something that a lot of the team has worked very, very hard on.
And it provides a lot of opportunities to play off of those things to keep things going well with the business.
Yeah. Benefactor, we've had many, many meetings where he's talked about maintaining that diversity of experiences, as something that is very important for us to do, because gaming is very much a hits-driven business, and you've got to have a hit. And if you only ever have one attempt at something, the likelihood that one attempt turns into a hit is very, very low. So got to try many, many different things, and then my job sometimes is finding ways to connect all of these things together, which isn't always easy, but it's definitely something I enjoy doing. What is something that you look forward to?
Well, I look forward to actually playing some of these games that I'm seeing, like Mirandus, and seeing how you build off of them. I see a lot of, especially with the MMO, I see a lot of secondary or ancillary products that could work off of it. For example, if you own a town or a village in Mirandus, I want something on my cell phone to remind me to get back in the game and go take care of something. I'd like another UI besides just the regular game, to where maybe, oh man, I need to get more wheat here. Why don't I put up a couple sales really quick, with my cell phone.
That concept of the entrepreneurial metagame, which is something I've been talking about a little bit more lately, is extremely important, and something that we're leaning into on multiple titles, so that you can have web-based interfaces to manage some of the things that are going on. I can't give exact details on that right now, but we're talking about some of that in relation to both Spider Tanks and Townstar.
I like knowing that Mirandus will be going on while I'm not in the game,
Yes.
Spider tanks. I mean, it is to one sense, but I mean, it's dead to me when I'm not there. But when I come back, it's like, oh, there's more stuff going on. But
Right.
with Mirandus, it's like, oh my God, there's a new town over here. What's this? There's a whole
Right.
tribe of Minotaurs, in this area that's been cleared before. What's going on?
It's happening. I love it. Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to come and chat with us today. I need to get over there and talk to you and Titan again here pretty soon. I'm sure that I have to go shovel through a bunch of his questions, and see what I can do to shovel. It's shoveling. It's definitely shoveling. There's got to be a pony in there somewhere. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk, and I look forward to seeing you in Discord, man.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Faz. I'll talk to you soon, man. Peace out. Welcome back, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and dig into it. Now, it's 5 right now. We were supposed to finish this on the hour, but I feel like, especially after we did the super cool submit your questions QR code thing, people would be really upset if we didn't let them submit questions. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. I'm going to do that, and let's see some questions, Paul. Now, these are all questions that have come from the community that were submitted in that form that is linked in the QR code. So let's get into it. What do we got today, Paul? Oh, and by the way, just a quick note on how that works. Now, we went ahead and rather than having the questions be submitted or pulled from Gala Gold, one of the things that people have mentioned is that you're constantly asking, or you're constantly responding to questions from the same people. They don't want me to play favorites or anything like that. So I wanted to make it clear that that's not what I'm doing. And so all of these questions are submitted anonymously. People do sort of tag them and say, who, sometimes who they are. But these are all pulled from there. Anyway, it was very exciting to hear that Gala would be used for all games going forward. With the recent backtrack of that news, why can't all games still use Gala and have it be distributed in a similar way to Silk if the Silk model is working so well? This is a great question. Let me dig into this a little bit. So one of the key things about the Silk model is that the Silk model has a set amount of new Silk that is brought into existence every day. So essentially, every single day, 0.25% of the difference between the current total supply and the max supply soft cap is added to the emission pool, which then goes out to players and nodes and things like that. So this is important for a few different reasons. The first thing is that it has its own separate supply curve, completely separate from Gala. The second thing is that this is what if some random developer wanted to come and build a game on Gala chain, this would probably be what they would do, or at the very least, they would have their own emission for their own token. It wouldn't have anything to do with Gala. Now, Gala's emission is not controlled by a game, and to make it controlled by a single game would be absolute insanity. Don't want that at all, because then that one game would control something for the entire ecosystem, which is not good. So the reason that you can't do it with Gala in the same way is because Gala just simply isn't emitted that way. The number of Gala that is emitted by the founders nodes, okay, and it is controlled by the total supply. It's not controlled by in-game actions. So the only thing that you could do if you wanted to use Gala in the same way, if you wanted to use Gala in the same way, what you would essentially have to do is you'd have to go to the founders nodes, okay, and say, hey guys, you're not getting the same distribution anymore. We're taking part of it for this game, which we shouldn't do, okay? And then that would then become the amount that it would go to a game. But the problem is how many times can you do that, A, before it doesn't work anymore and there's nothing left? Or B, I don't think that the founders nodes are going to be okay with that. Okay, so that's why you can't use Gala. This is why having a separate currency with a separate, consumption curve and emission curve is super important. So, hope that answers your question. I don't know who you were, but if it doesn't, please feel free to hit me with a follow-up question, or I'm gonna press another cool button, or send me a DM on Twitter. Let's see, did that work? Did it not work? It didn't work. Oh no, I think I might have removed something. Anyway, moving on. Hit it again. Did it work? No, it's not working. I must have disabled it. Oh well. Let's move on to the next question, Paul. What do we have here? I'm bummed that it didn't work. It was such a cool button. Anyway, just yes or no. Is there any game jumping into Gala with the intention to only have game licenses as an NFT or something that doesn't involve any sort of PTE? Ownership doesn't need P2E after all. There are a few different games that are looking at models like this. Models where, in fact, to be completely honest, the initial model for Grit, where before any sort of earnings come into play, doesn't require an NFT. You're not gated by an NFT at all. You can just show up and play. Same with Spider Tanks. In some cases, there are games that are looking at using an NFT essentially as like a box price, where you pay one cost up front and it gets you access to the game. And that then would be transferable essentially. So you could just sell the game from person to person. But I think that in doing it that way, you're leaving a lot on the table, because you have all of the friction of having an NFT built into a game without any of the potential benefits that can come from that. So that just doesn't work very well in my mind. Let's move on to the next question. I'm so bummed that my button isn't working. Okay, what percentage of Gala? I'm going to kind of rephrase this a little bit. What percentage of Gala is Gala planning to redistribute to the players as rewards out of their sales? You made it clear that 15% was only used as a bad example of what would not work, so I assume that you also have an example of what percentage would actually work. Okay, guys. I really, really have to get this through people's heads here, because there's been a few things that have gotten people very, very, very mixed up. It doesn't work very well if you make it based on sales in most cases. Okay, if we took a game like Spider Tanks, having any percentage of it being from sales going from us to the players would be, generally speaking, a diminishment from what players are looking at right now with the secondary currency. Okay, for several reasons. First, if we were to, let's say we ratchet that number all the way up to 100%. Okay, we ratchet that all the way to 100% and say that, look, what players can potentially get is 100% of the revenue that comes into the game. Okay, doing that does two things. One, it completely defunds everyone who's working on building the game. Revenue is what you generate from a game, and if we take all of that away and just hand it back to the players, there's no one to build the game anymore. Okay, game stops being built, platform stops running, all of that goes away. Now, so I think it's fair to say that 100% number doesn't make sense. So if that 100% number doesn't make sense, and then we start reducing it, okay, start looking for a number that does make sense, even say 50-50. Okay, 50-50 means that players are still getting a relatively quite small amount that is going to them on a daily basis, significantly less than what they would receive from Silk, with much, much greater constraint on it in terms of what could be emitted. Because what happens if you have a day where, nobody spends any money? Okay, if you have a day where nobody spends any money and you don't have some sort of buffer pool, okay, which requires a whole other conversation, you don't have some sort of buffer pool, then essentially what happens is you have a bunch of people playing, and they're there to play that game because they want to get something to a certain extent, or they at least hope to, and then they get nothing. Well, okay, that seems like a suboptimal experience, right? And so this is why this concept of take revenue and give it back to the players doesn't really work. Okay. This is why the secondary currency in most cases is a good option. Now, you could have a leaderboard based competition where there's some sort of amount that gets, that comes in Gala and goes to people, but it depends very, very much on the specific function of that game and how it's set up. In most cases, in many cases, I don't want to say most cases, in many cases, it just isn't a model that functions at all. Okay. So there have been people who have made videos talking about the 85%, 15% split and things like that. And talked about how that somehow that hypothetical somehow makes us greedy, right? But the reality is that typically speaking, when you buy something from a store, okay, that goes to support the existence of that store. You don't turn around and, buy something at Walmart and then, Walmart takes X percentage of that and gives it out to random people who are also shopping in Walmart. That doesn't make sense. It's not how that works. And it's not how it has ever worked in anything ever. So talking about that as being a thing that's supposed to happen is possibly the world's worst and silliest straw man argument. So yeah, moving on to the next question. Okay, will the social app being developed by the third party be integrated into Gala with the features of friends playing, listening to, joining a quick game, see achievements, collections, and all of that? Yes, that is definitely going to be the direction that goes. This is essentially what Gala Friends is. There's going to be some big announcements on this in the coming week. So, keep your eyes open for that. There's a bunch of things that I'm super excited about. And I can't wait to jump in and let you guys see all of that. Okay, let's move on to the next question here. Okay. Whatever moderator just deleted that question out of the YouTube chat. I actually wanted to answer that. It's just gone. Is it possible to start building on Gala Chain? Yes, it is possible. There are people who are doing it right now. We will be hopefully opening this up in a more substantial fashion in the very near future, but most of the game teams that are integrating Gala Chain right now are doing the integration on their own. We provide them with the documentation and they build the stuff that they need to build and work it in. And, we have people who help with this, but it's not a thing that we're necessarily doing. And obviously with the third parties and things like that, building other stuff, that is definitely something that they're doing as well. Okay. So the question that somebody had placed, okay, I'll go through I'll process through the rest of these ones that I grabbed already. With the eagerly anticipated launch of today's Music All Access store, are there plans to offer any special game items in that store for those who are active in both spaces? I don't know that there's necessarily plans for them to offer game stuff in their store, but we're very interested, generally speaking, in doing anything that we can to enhance collaboration between all of the different parts of the ecosystem. So that's something, not that you're not necessarily going to see game stuff in the music store again, but we're very interested in collaboration. So we would love to work more closely with the games team on a variety of things, and that could potentially be one of them. That would be up to them, though. Okay, let's go ahead, and this was a question from Faz Radio that was posted in our nifty little link. How is governance envisioned to be run by the governed, or will it always be Gala Games that, quote, writes the questions? No, it will not always be us that writes the questions. Eventually, there will be a decentralized proposal submission process and things like that, where people will be able to put up their own proposals and things like that, and then there would be a process where eventually I would like to see group that comes together to curate these together, so that there's, this is the big problem that you have anytime there's some sort of DAO, right? Is you have proposals, and we saw this several times this summer, where people would put a DAO proposal through, and they would, have code commits on one side of it, but then they'd write up something completely different on the other side. There has to be some group that is a very, very tight group that helps make sure that these types of things don't happen. But definitely, we would like to see these be community submitted. Okay. Say again, Paul. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Okay. Meaning you just want people to spend thousands of dollars to buy some NFTs. You don't care about them. That's exactly your point. So, Kids TV. Let's dig into this for a second. Okay. For starters, most of the games that you come and play, you can come and play Spider Tanks, you can come and play Grit, you can come and play most games, okay, without having to purchase anything at all. Okay? Nothing. You can play Spider Tanks right now, and you can earn playing Spider Tanks right now, making 0 purchases. Nothing. You don't have to buy a damn thing, and you can jump in and play Spider Tanks. Now, purchasing items, okay, this can potentially be part of this entrepreneurial metagame that I've been talking about, where people who want to can buy items and make them available for people to use essentially for free. Okay. If somebody were to come in and use those items, there's a an earning share slider that people can split, which very critically doesn't go below 50%. You can't, if you own a tank, you can't set it so that you get more than 50%. 50% of that definitely always goes to the person who is playing, and who, again, has paid 0 for this privilege. Okay, so it is very, very easy to stand there and say things like, oh my God, your prices are ridiculous. You don't care. We're doing this because we care. We do have bills to pay. We definitely have to keep the lights on. We have almost 400 people that have families that they need to take care of. But to say that we don't care, if we didn't care, we would run this as a straight up Web 2 company. We would sell people things, and that would be it. That'd be it. Instead, we're here and we work together with the community to build a better ecosystem. That's what this is all about. That's why I got into this. Okay. And that's why I'm going to continue to be here with the community, pushing this stuff forward. Now, I do agree that some of the NFT pricing is high. Absolutely. I do not dispute this personally. Okay. But I also don't set the pricing policy for anything. I don't set the pricing policy for any of the games. So the game developers are always free to charge whatever it is that they want. Okay. That's not a thing that I sit here and fiddle with. So I understand the frustration, but it's mistargeted. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit some more of these questions. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my main view, Paul, so we can get rid of the top piece there. Boom. Look at that. That's so fun. That just looks so slick. It comes across so well. And let me see if my buttons work. So if you guys are interested in sending any sort of DMs or anything like that, you can always send them to my Twitter. It worked. Beautiful. At BitBender Brink. And I also encourage you guys to join the Discord. Got to move that one down a little bit, at galagames.chat. And if you're a member of Gala Gold, I and many of the other people in the company are there pretty regularly, having deep conversations with people. And I invite you guys to come on in. Okay. The button worked now, Punjab. Yes. Okay. So I think that's about what I've got for questions today, guys. I encourage you to like, subscribe, and follow. And oh no, one more thing. I have to do one more thing. I have to do the picking of the person. Let's see here. Haha. There we go. So here is the ahead of the game tweet. And let's go see what we've got as far as entries. Looks like we've got 28 entries of people who have retweeted. And let's see what this looks like. Okay. Hopefully it lets me do it. I don't have an account yet or anything. Okay, let's go view this entry really quick. Make sure it's a legitimate retweet. Hey, Dr. Token retweeted, appears to be an actual person. In the last life, a swordsmith. Okay, you Dr. Token, send me a DM. We need to talk. We need to talk swords. So you got yourself an uncommon Snoop Tank. So DM me your address and I will get it sent out to you. So with that, guys, thank you so much, and see you all on the flip side for the next Ahead of the Game. BitBender out.